What's going on, YouTube? Mr. Showtime, Avery D now. ShowtimeReactz, back with another one. Hey, look, we finna get this reaction going. Then we got a good video right here. We're gonna comparison of the most painful ends. All right, see what I'm saying? Hey, somebody told me to watch this video, and Flight reacts to it, and we finna react to it. So, hey, let's do it.
Timothy Treadwell watched his torn-off arm while the enraged grizzly sank its teeth into him. Screams of his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, echoed in his head. Both became victims of a merciless predator, devouring them alive. Slow death is the scariest thing imaginable, but on the pain scale, crafted from scientific studies, being eaten alive only rates 100 points. Meanwhile, the most horrifying death is estimated at 140. Stick around until the end to find out what hits that maximum mark. But I warn you, viewer discretion is advised. On October 11th, 2012, workers at a seafood processing plant in Santa Fe Springs sounded the alarm. Their colleague, 62-year-old Jose Molina, had vanished suddenly. After nearly 90 minutes of searching, the boiler operator suggested opening the last loaded oven. Inside, they cooked and sterilized tuna at high temperatures. Workers had to wait
Hey, y'all like, share, subscribe so we can get the good YouTube without the ads. We're gonna keep saying it until y'all subscribe and share, man.
An hour for the oven to cool down. All this time, their only thought was, I hope Jose...
You already knew somebody was gonna get stuck in the tuna cans. You knew somebody was gonna get stuck in the tuna cans.
Unfortunately, he was indeed there.
Cook them,
when the workers opened the door, they were horrified to find him inside. As it turned out, Molina was loading pallets of canned tuna into the oven when he noticed a malfunction. Without warning anyone, he stepped into the oven to adjust the chain inside. Meanwhile, another worker, not seeing Jose in place, assumed he had already left. So he closed and turned on the oven. It was loaded with nearly 5,500 kilograms of canned tuna, which began to cook at a temperature of 132 degrees Celsius. Trapped, Jose likely suffered severe skin burns, and then the high temperature began to affect his muscles and organs. Eventually, the poor man was boiled alive. Looking at the pain scale, where, for example, 2 points are attributed to a gunshot to the head, and 91 to a shark bite, while dying from being literally boiled alive hits a staggering 105 points. And unfortunately, such incidents in production happen quite often. In 2009, Vincent Smith II worked at an illegal chocolate factory, Cocoa Service, in Camden, New Jersey. The 29-year-old worker was dumping giant chunks of chocolate over the edge of a vat, nearly 2.5 meters deep. There, chocolate was melted and mixed. Suddenly, Vincent was struck by a mixer paddle and fell right into the hot molten mass, reaching a temperature of 120 degrees Celsius. His colleagues immediately rushed to shut down the machine. However, Vincent stayed in the chocolate for a full 10 minutes before rescuers could pull him out. Even though his body was mangled,
that's Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka really happened.
By the giant mixer, Vincent died from burns. The tragedy occurred because the platform he fell from was slippery from splattered chocolate and was directly above the vat without any barriers to protect workers from falling into the boiling mixture. Nevertheless, you don't have to be at a dangerous facility to experience excruciating pain, which on the scale goes even beyond 105 points. On November 23rd, 2018, a 911 dispatcher heard the shaky voice of a 76-year-old woman. It was Loretta Picard from Polk County, Florida.
I think my house is on fire, and I'm here alone, and I'm on a walker.
Firefighters were immediately dispatched to her house. The dispatcher told the woman to leave the building and go outside, to which she replied,
"Couldn't, honey, if I wanted to."
That nervous laugh at the end just breaks your heart. Loretta had recently undergone surgery and couldn't move quickly without assistance. Plus, she couldn't see anything through the smoke. Meanwhile, the fire truck slowly made its way down the rough country road where the woman lived. Loretta was freaking out, worried that nobody would save her, constantly asking if help was really on the way and if they were sure they were coming for her. Then, on the recording, you could hear Loretta start coughing and wheezing, and the sound of the crackling fire in the background getting louder. But I can't show you what the recording captured next. Because then, the flames engulfed the woman, who never got the help she desperately needed. She screamed wildly as she burned alive. The link to the full recording I'll leave in the description below. Loretta was dying while firefighters were just minutes away from her yard. The phone call cut out after 20 minutes, and rescuers arrived at the scene 14 minutes later. Yet nobody ever went inside to save her. The fire chief claimed that several firefighters attempted to enter the house, but no evidence supports his words. And the dispatcher was blamed for giving ineffective instructions. Due to the negligence of rescuers, Loretta died in agony because the pain from burning alive hits a staggering 108 points. You wouldn't wish such a death on anyone. But you know what? I came across a story where a person knowingly subjected themselves to such suffering. On June 11, 1963, several American correspondents, including Malcolm Brown, gathered outside the Cambodian embassy in Saigon. The day before, journalists were informed that something important would happen there. Buddhists were deeply offended by the disrespect of their beliefs by the South Vietnamese government. So, around 350 monks and nuns gathered for another peaceful protest. Suddenly, not far from the presidential palace, a car stopped and 3 monks got out, including Quang Duc. Malcolm pointed his camera at the trio, not realizing what he would witness through the lens next. Protesters gathered around Quang, who sat on a pillow in the traditional Buddhist meditative lotus pose, while another monk started pouring gasoline over his head. Quang paid no attention and prayed, and when he finished, he struck a match. The flames instantly engulfed him, rising up in black smoke. It was a horrifying spectacle. Quang Duc's body slowly withering and shriveling, while his head blackened and charred. I can't show you the photo either, but I'll leave a link below the video. The scene was very contrasting, as everyone present there loudly cried, watching the self-immolation, while the monk himself enduring pain.
What? Some research gotta be done, because I gotta figure out what, Wang Zhao?
Full suffering, didn't even flinch or make a sound.
He didn't flinch or make a sound, and he burned. Gasoline. Grrr. What? I'm sitting like this. I'm burning. Grrr. That's crazy.
Whether it was meditation skills or inner spiritual strength that helped the monk endure the agony of his impending death. I know for sure an ordinary person wouldn't last like that, let alone endure the pain that hits 110 points.
110.
In 2007, a 33-year-old woman from Hong Kong named Cecilia Chung climbed to the top of Nyiragongo volcano, located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It last erupted in 2002, flooding the highly populated city of Goma with lava, causing widespread destruction. Since then, the volcano had been relatively safe, so tourists from all over the world flocked to see its famous lava lake. It looks like cracked earth in the desert. Since then, the volcano had been relatively safe, so tourists from all over the world flocked to see its famous lava lake. It looks like cracked earth in the desert, with hellish streaks of fire rising from it. Cecilia climbed nearly 3,500 meters for this site. The woman was thrilled by the terrifying view of the lake and wanted to take a closer photo of it. To do this, she climbed over the edge of the crater, and suddenly, Cecilia slipped and fell down. However, flying about 200 meters, she hit a protrusion right above the lava lake. Cecilia felt piercing pain because the impact broke several bones. She was thrown into the heat, and it was almost impossible to breathe because she was too close to the lava, the temperature of which could reach 950 degrees Celsius. A helicopter, rescuers, and a volcanologist were sent to the scene. At first, Cecilia showed signs of life. However, the rescue operations were stopped due to poor visibility. As a result, without waiting for help, she fell into the volcanic lava lake. Eyewitnesses even hoped that the woman died instantly after the impact and fell into the lava without feeling any pain. The thing is that on the pain scale, it hits a whopping 110 points.
Don't go to lava.
Death in lava, although painful, is instantaneous. That's why many people consciously chose it to end their lives. In 1933, a schoolgirl named Kyoko Matsumoto climbed Mount Mihara, located on the Japanese island of Ito-Oshima, with a girl from her school. Kyoko was in love with her friend. However, in Japanese society at that time, same-sex relationships were condemned, and this oppressed Kyoko so much that she didn't want to live anymore. The schoolgirl threw herself into the volcano crater before her lover's eyes. The scariest thing in this story is that the girl became a role model for many Japanese people who wanted to end their lives.
Yeah.
By 1935, almost 1,300 people had lost their lives by jumping into Mihara, until the Japanese government built barriers around the area. Still, as countless stories show, people often ignore such prohibitions. In 2016, Colin Scott and his sister, Sable, went on a tour to Yellowstone National Park, known for its geothermal spots. They really look fascinating, but getting close to them is dangerous. The water here may not be as hot as lava in a volcano, but still, the 96 degrees reached by the local water bodies are enough to cause burns and even kill a person. But Colin and Sable ignored numerous warning signs and crossed the restricted area. Suddenly, the guy slipped and fell into the hot water near the Pork Chop Geyser. Such a death is more painful than death in a volcano because, in a hot spring, it doesn't happen instantly, but slowly. Moreover, in almost all the park's water bodies, acid sulfate liquids are present to a greater or lesser extent. So when Scott's sister returned with a few rangers, only parts of her brother's head, torso, and arms were visible in the hot spring. By the next morning, Colin's body had completely dissolved. It seems that there couldn't be worse pre-death suffering, but, in fact, there could be. Dissolving in a geyser is far from 140 points on the pain scale. On September 13, 1987, in Goiânia, Brazil, the owner of a local landfill, Devair Ferreira, invited neighbors, relatives, and friends over to show them his interesting find. Devair showed them a strange powder. It was sparkling so mesmerizingly that guests rubbed it on their skin like glitter and took it with them to give to someone else. Yet none of them had any idea what this powder really was. The thing is, the man brought scrap metal.
Yeah, you want some blue powder? Rub it on you. Yeah, you want some too? Rub it up. Who's rubbing blue powder?
And someone brought from a neglected hospital a metal capsule to his landfill. But those who did it didn't realize they had taken it from a radiotherapy machine. Devair Ferreira ordered the capsule to be cut open, where he found the powder, which was actually radionuclide cesium-137. It is used in treatment to create a source of gamma radiation capable of affecting human cells. It's specifically directed at cancerous tumors. But if the radiation isn't controlled, it'll also affect healthy cells. Devair, not realizing it, set off a deadly domino effect. So about 250 people came into contact with the powder. Maria Gabriela Ferreira, the wife of the landfill owner, began to suffer from hair loss and internal bleeding. One of Devair's hired workers, Israel Bautista dos Santos, developed serious respiratory and lung complications. The other one, Admilson Alves de Souza, had his heart affected. However, the most affected was Devair's 6-year-old niece, Leide das Neves Ferreira. She was placed in an isolated hospital room, but the staff was afraid to approach the child. The girl gradually developed swelling in the upper part of her body, hair loss, kidney and lung damage, and, just like Gabriela, she suffered from internal bleeding. On the pain scale, these feelings hit a whopping 125 points.
Exposure.
All the people who came into contact with the blue powder got various diseases, and this quartet later died. All the items touched by people who came into contact with the powder were buried in a repository on one of the city's mounds and marked for use only in 300 years. Such cases in ordinary life are pretty rare, but people who work directly with radioactive elements risk painfully dying literally every day. On August 21st, 1945, less than 2 weeks after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Harry Daghlian was working with a plutonium core at the Los Alamos test site in New Mexico. He used tungsten carbide bricks to create a barrier around it because the bricks reflected neutrons coming out of the radioactive plutonium back. But when he started laying bricks around the core, he suddenly dropped one of them right on him. At that moment, the brick caused an uncontrolled nuclear fission chain reaction. It covered the scientist with a deadly dose of radiation of 5.1 sieverts. After receiving a radiation burn, a person experiences
Why
countless
are you so
excruciating
radiation?
sensations at once. The skin blisters and ulcers, after which the vessels in it burst, and the person dies. In addition, due to the high
That's
dose of
so
radiation,
amazing.
you feel how each of your organs slowly fails until you die. And that's exactly what happened on the 25th day of Harry Daghlian's suffering. The slow death from radiation and all the previous steps on the pain scale are united by the fact that these pains weren't inflicted intentionally on the victims. However, fortunately, you cannot accidentally expose yourself to suffering that is at the maximum mark of 140 points, even if you find yourself in the mouth of a volcano or in the heart of a nuclear reactor. So, the most painful sensation in the world is skinning. This refers to a specific torture. Before it, the skin was softened using sunburns or hot water. Then, the torturer made incisions starting from the least sensitive parts of the body and ending with the delicate skin of the face. The process was designed to keep the victims alive as long as possible, maximizing pain. Eventually, death could occur from blood loss, shock, or infections. But such a method of punishment has existed for quite some time, since the times of the ancient Assyrians, and up to medieval Europe. Nowadays, they don't do it anymore. At least, it's definitely prohibited by law. Write in the comments what caused you the most pain, and subscribe to my channel if you have nerves of steel and love scary stories from the lives of real people.
I ain't gonna lie. Hey, I know one thing that can save you from a lot of these painful ends. Common sense. Think. Common sense. Hey, but look, thank y'all for coming. Another Showtime Reacts. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Hey, I think I'm finna do another video. Let's see. Hey, I don't know. But hey, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Thank y'all for coming. Showtime Success Creators. Oh, Showtime Success Creators. We out. Let's do it, baby.